Hi guys, in this video I'm going to explain you how to work with Photoshop's filter gallery. Now before we start, I'm going to recommend you to lower the size of your images because as you know Photoshop takes up a lot of memory and space from our computer and it can crash sometimes, okay? So for example, this image, I'm going to go to image and image size so I can check out the size and the dimensions. I have here around 2000 pixels. The resolution is low, but since this is an image that will only be seen on screen, that is super fine. If you are going to print this, on the other hand, then you would have to increase the resolution at least at 150 pixels, okay? So my recommendation is to have your images less than 10 megabytes to work, okay? So this one is pretty fine. But maybe you remember this image from last week's assignment. So if I go to image and image size, I can see this image weighs more than 60 megabytes. And this is just a plain image. Now imagine if I start changing its background and putting text and filters, then the file will be super large and that will cause a crash in our program, okay? So I have to make sure that I have this option linked because if I change the width, I will also want for the height to change accordingly, okay? So I'm going to put 2000 pixels in here, and as you can see, it lowers a lot. So this is what I want, okay? Less than 10 megabytes to work with. And then I just click OK. Now you may notice it changed, but this is just the zoom level. So if I press Alt and change my zoom, as you can see, my image is still HD, super HD, and really really good to work with, okay? So don't worry about it losing a lot of quality because it will not. Now let me get back to my work here, to this image. The first thing you will notice when you open your image directly in Photoshop is that it's locked, okay? This is a locked file. And I have to convert this into a smart object first to work. So you have two options, right click and convert to smart object, or you can also go to filter where we have our filter gallery and we have this option here that says convert for smart filters. This is what I always do when I work with the filter gallery here in Photoshop. Why? Because if I leave my image as it is, I open it and then I go to my filter gallery and apply a quick filter like that one, and then I just click OK. As you can see, the filter applies directly to my photo. This means that I'm destructing my image. And if I start putting a lot of elements, then I won't be able to come back to my original one, okay? Of course, it is always recommendable to have a copy before you work, but what I like to do is to go to filter, convert for smart filters. It will tell you, it will pop up this message. We just click OK, and as you can see, it does the same that if I do right click and convert it to smart object. This is a file ready to apply filters. Now what's the difference? If I go to my filter gallery again, I'm going to apply the same filter. We're going to see them in a minute, and then I click OK. As you can see, it adds like a mask, okay? You already know what these things are. So that means, for example, that if I don't want that filter, my image did not get edited directly. This means that I'm doing a non-destructive editing. So if I don't like the filter, I can just do right click and clear the smart filters. Now, if I double click in this part, I can open the blending options of my filter. So this means that I have more options to work with the filter. For example, if I click in overlay, then I will have a different effect. And I can also change the opacity of my filter so it's not super visible, okay? And then I can just click OK. And again, if I don't like it, I can delete the filter mask, or I can completely disable it or clear the smart filters, and my image will go back to normal. Okay, so let's start talking about our filter gallery. We have to have our layer selected, then we go to filter and filter gallery, and let's take a look at all the elements that appear in this box. First, we have the zoom level, so I can see better the details of my image. The first one is called color pencil, and we have all these options for the color pencil effect. I can change the width of the pencil. That means that the strokes won't be as hard as I want them to. We also have the pressure of the strokes, and we have the brightness. So this depends on the effect you want to get. Now, what I like about this is that in this new version of Photoshop, we can add as many effects or filters as we want. In earlier versions, we had to apply one and then click OK and have to go back to filter and apply another filter. But this time, I can just click in the plus button in here and add another layer of a filter. Now, let's move on to cutout. As you can see, it resembles like a vector portrait. This is kind of the effect of vector portraits. You can add different levels to your image, the simplicity and the fidelity of those cutouts. We have dry brushes. This is the size of the brush, the details, the texture. So we have a lot of elements in here. This is really much up to you to experiment with this, to open all the filters and take a look at the results of the effects that are applied. For example, this one is like if it was painted with ink or with a pencil. We also have distort filters. And for example, in texture, we have this really cool one that resembles stained glass. And you can also check the thickness of the borders, the light intensity. There's one I also really like here in Sketch. It's called a stamp, because it gives like the effect of coloring books. So when I want to create coloring stuff for my nephew, for example, I apply this filter, I print them out, and it converts this into a coloring page. So these are all the filters that Photoshop has. Again, if you like something but you also want to combine it with another one, you can create a second layer and apply another filter. So you have all these filters to work with here in Photoshop. And after you're done, you just click OK. And that filter will be applied. And since this is a smart filter, remember you can clear it or delete it. So I hope you like this topic, and thank you.